Hi, Garth. I'm Sarah from The Upcoming. An absolute pleasure to be able to speak to you. How are you doing
Well,
today?
lovely to talk to you too. I'm all right, actually. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Seeing your first animated feature was a resounding success. So, how did that feel, and what do you think made it resonate with people so much that made you decide to go in for a round two?
How did it feel? It is quite something. I mean, you obviously, when we were, it was my first animated film, and I will remember that preview, that first preview, as long as I live, being terrified. Genuinely, I think, no, I genuinely, sorry about this, listeners, but I threw up beforehand with nerves. They had 500 people there from all over the place in this cinema, and all the execs from Universal, and um, and then you sit down and you hit play. And also, I think the last 10 minutes was still in storyboards, but it played so well, and I was so thrilled. I, I mean, it's been great having children. Their births were miraculous, but I'm definitely putting that moment up there as far as one of those moments of like sheer joy and relief combined. Um, and really surprising as well, like how vocal, like the children were dancing by the end of it. And so it did what I wanted it to do, but more and more. So it was a thrill to see it work. And then coming into Sing 2 was lovely. We'd already sort of started talking about a story. Wouldn't it be great if? So by the time we were previewing, we already had the sort of premise and the journey sort of mapped out. Um, it was, but then the idea to go bigger and better, and to take what we've learned from the first one and try and expand on that, um, and just have fun with it, for it to be like an infectiously fun journey to be on. And that was certainly where it started.
And it feels like a lot of the appeal is sort of down to the fact you have this ensemble of characters who are all very relatable, and different people can connect to different characters, and they also are flawed as well.
Yeah.
And then this incredible sense of humor, quite an irreverent sense of humor, which works for both adults and for kids. So, what do you think was, the kind of appeal on those different levels, and how did you want to carry that forward into the second one?
I don't know. We've never talked about like this as ticking any boxes. Do you know what I mean? It's funny. It's always just a sensibility of a few people. And then there are over 500 people that have worked on the film for 4.5 years. But actually it comes down to those kind of decisions that you're talking about, those things that appeal to people, those things that are funny or emotionally resonant. They're just things I'm finding here with the team. And it's a very playful, non-scientific process. It's an artistic process. You're trying things out and you're going with your gut on a lot of it. So although we know certain characters are loved, we know we can't just repeat. I can't just have Johnny play the piano again at the end of the film. And it's like, well, where would we go with him now? It's like, and it ended up being this thing where he's going to have to dance. He is going to have to dance and face a nemesis, someone that's whole motto is you cannot be great unless you suffer, and which is actually their own coded way of being able to justify being cruel to you. And so it's just sort of born out of these sort of feelings and things that we found to be true in our own journeys to get here. You're always coming up against that nasty person. You're always coming up against egos and strange, warped personalities. So sort of, yeah, it was. I don't know if I've given you an eloquent answer, because I don't think I've got one in me. I think it's just I'm going with gut feeling on all of this.
And you had such an incredible cast to begin with from the first Sing, people like Matthew McConaughey and Scarlett
Yeah,
Johansson, and then you've added even more people into the mix.
I know.
Halsey, you've got Bono. So how did you get all these kind of actors
Yeah.
together and work with them? And what's the
How did that
experience
happen?
like?
I know. It's honestly, in a word, it's the first film. It's Sing 1. Because that film came out and people really liked it. They were like, oh, I see I see what you're doing and what the sense of humor is and how you treat music. And because most of the new people were from the world of music, Halsey and Pharrell and Bono, they all liked that approach to embracing all genres, all styles, all time periods of music. And And so I think my best calling card was the fact that the first film was something that people had enjoyed.
And, you know, if you think the first film was kind of about wanting to achieve your dreams, maybe you could say this one is about, you know, people who are trying to limit or put you in a box or say, okay, well, that's your potential. You've reached that. You can't surpass that. You know, what do you think?
Told you're not good enough is sometimes the greatest thing someone can do for you, isn't it? How many people have told success stories that begin with a teacher saying, you'll never make it in this field? But then, of course, going past that, I suppose those themes of just how hard it is to, you know, it's all very well to say to people, yes, dream big dreams, follow your dreams. We hear that a lot, don't we? But it also needs to be followed up quite quickly with, but be careful and be ready for a very difficult journey. If you're not going to settle for just what's given to you and you're going to try and go for this, then you better strap in and you know, you need friends, you need loved ones, but you need to be brave and you need to have faith and guts and stamina and faith, just as they're talking about at the beginning of the movie, because even if you're not going to go into show business, those qualities still are essential. And, you know, it feels irresponsible to say, follow your dreams without following up with, and this is how hard it can be.
And you do go bigger and better in this film. So, you know, what were some of the highlights and challenges of, you know, the more ambitious moments, the Prince sequence with Alice in Wonderland and things like that? You know, like, what were some of the highlights and challenges for you?
I've loved, after scene one, it was like, I could do more with a single song. We had a lot of shorter songs in scene one. And so I wanted to do more with one song in this film in general. There are fewer songs, so they're on screen for longer. So there are 4 minutes of Prince to open it, and then like 2.5 minutes of Mercury Rev on a bus. And then, you know, just like trying to use it more substantially. And so that was one of the great highlights musically. There's so many things I've loved about making it, but being able to use music more substantially and do more storytelling with each number, that was a really lovely new aspect of this film.
And are you thinking about what you're going to do next? They're going to be at number 3. You're going to go to something else? Or?
Yes. It seems that my producers and I have got a lovely idea for a third film. I wouldn't write and direct it, though. I would, if it happens, I would take a step back and let other people take over. It's a great idea for it, but and then I'm going to go on to something else next. That's exciting, but very early days. But yeah.
And how does it feel to be putting a film like this out right now? It does feel like, geez, you know, after the few years that we've had, kind of something that is just so fun and immersive and full of optimism and hope. It's just what people need right now.
I found that so far, and I've been all around all different countries in all different cities in Europe and to America, and screening it with audiences, and there seems to be a heightened sense of delight, because we've all been so locked up and away from these things. And because we've only been told one story for 2 years, which is it's all doom and gloom. Now, that's not to say there isn't truth to all of that, of course, but it's just been a very one-dimensional experience for so many of us, and a tragic one for so many of us. So this isn't a film that's sort of going, let's put our fingers in our ears and pretend none of that's happening. But it is one to say there's also this. Don't forget how important we are to each other and how lovely it is to experience things together. And the film literally ends with that, with thousands of characters all experiencing this thing together and having this communal moment. And watching it with audiences in cinemas has been, one of the most rewarding things ever. And I'm sure that's been heightened by the last 2 years.
I think I'm out of time. It has been an absolute pleasure to speak to you. Thank you so much for sharing all that with us. And I hope people really can get out and see this incredible sequel. So it was brilliant. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thanks, Garth. Thank you.